Hello! Welcome to Mirage Game Studios. My name is Toby, and in this video we have a very special guest.
That's me!
It's me!
It's me, Christian. I work here at Mirage Game Studios as a designer.
And we're currently working on a game called Space for Sale. And if you haven't seen it, it's you can check out the trailer over here. But could you give us a brief explanation on what Space for Sale is all about?
Of course, yeah. In Space for Sale, you obviously play as a spaceman realtor. And your object is to build your real estate empire on these sort of backwater fixer-upper planets that you've somehow acquired. And that will involve exploring the planets, gathering resources, refining those resources, and using them to build plots and houses and sell those to clients.
And research.
And research, how could we forget? My favorite part.
So all of these elements are also affected by what we call the hands-on design value. But what exactly do we mean when we say that? You know?
Well, to understand what we mean when we say hands-on, you might need some context from our last game, Little Big Workshop, where you played as a manager of a factory and you hired workers and assigned tasks to workstations that you had built and essentially just waited for the workers to do the tasks at some point when they felt like it after their next coffee break. So in this game, there will be some shared DNA with our last game, of course, but I think one of the main differences from Little Big Workshop that players will experience if they have played both is that this game is significantly more hands-on, both for the player and the character that you play in the game, which is, of course, a little bit of a change. You have a character that you control. Yeah.
And in order to demonstrate this concept, we are going to actually play the game live for you guys.
Yes, it's time to get hands-on with the game.
Yes!
The following footage is to be considered work in progress and does not represent the final title. Any asset shown in the video is not final and is subject to change. Clipping any shots from this gameplay demonstration will cause massive unrest at the office. Viewer discretion is advised.
So we landed on the planet, we've gathered some resources, we've built our base, you know. We are ready to build a plot. So what I've gone ahead and done before we started recording is I've selected a contract from the contracts menu, found the client that I want to work with, and I've found one of the more interesting points on the planet that I know they will be interested in, which is this strange floaty rock thing. They're very into the paranormal, so to say.
Yes, clients and contracts is a big subject we're going to tackle in a video on its own, but in brief, they have certain prerequisites that they want your plot to fill, right? How big the plot is, what kind of decorations and houses you put onto it, but also the location, because any realtor knows that location is everything.
Location, location, location. That's right. When I start building the plot here, I'll be able to see a little bit more about the requirements that this particular client has for their plot, and we can see that he wants a medium-sized contract, which I believe...
No! You gotta watch out! The environment can be quite treacherous sometimes.
Forgot about the exploding mushrooms. At least I get, little resources for my pay.
For troubles.
Yeah. Oh, medium. Let me resize this a little bit.
See, the medium size is sufficient.
Exactly, and we can see that the abnormal tag is on there because I made sure to build this plot close to an abnormal world feature, which was the floating rocks that we saw earlier. So obviously we've done a couple of passes on the plot selling and contract features, and this is actually something that we added a little bit later when we felt that building the houses and constructing the plot required a little bit extra hands-oniness from the player.
Typically when you build these workstations that your player can use for creating tools, materials, that kind of stuff, they are typically just built right, if you have the resources. But houses or bigger, like client-related stuff, they become more like a puzzle, where you're going to have to build these individual pieces.
That's right. And one thing we found adding this to give some weight to the plot construction system was also that it was quite fun in multiplayer when playing with a friend. So highly recommend trying it out.
right? Because the game is so task oriented that just adding more people allows you to do more tasks, but it's still at its core it's still the same game.
So now that we finished the house, we can see that we have some power requirements from the client as well. There are apparently some features of this house that require electricity.
The client requires specific buildings, or perhaps they want like specific decorations and such, but they also require what we call utilities, and these can be like power or water, resources that you need to run the plot, right? So most clients are gonna want these basic utilities, and it's up to you to find a spot where your planet can provide that.
Yeah, definitely. The power and water are the two big ones, and you'll have to get creative on some of these planets with how you're going to get those two, because on this planet maybe water is not so hard to come by, but you know, when we get the access to, you're not going to get me this time. On any other planets you might travel to, you know, it'll be a little more involved.
So here we've got a waterfall, and waterfalls are plentiful on the green planet, and you're able to place like a water wheel in here to generate electricity for the plot. But electricity can be gained from multiple different sources, right?
Absolutely. So you'll have to be careful about exactly what resources you have on the planet that you're on right now, and even in the region of the planet you are on right now. So this completely stationary hydropower plant.
It's going to spin in the release game.
And that's a Mirage guarantee. So the way you'll get power will vary. In this case, on this planet, water is plentiful, so we even use it to get our electricity, actually. So now all I have to do is draw this power line bit by bit and try not to step on these exploding mushrooms. That was close.
This is how we try to fulfill the hands-on demand, even for things that aren't like you're not building these piece by piece, but just actually placing the individual poles instead of just putting A to B makes for a more hands-on like experience, right?
Exactly, and you know, when you see those power lines later in the game, which you will run across them every now and again, you'll remember when you were the one that had to construct each individual part of your empire. Yeah, so when we finish drawing our power line here, we'll see that the plot gets access to the power that's required to run the buildings that we have on it. And I think our client should be happy with that. There we go. Hello, friend.
And there we go. Now our new little alien client has moved in and is going to be now a living part of your planet.
Exactly.
And as the game progresses, then you will have multiple clients, and they will interact, and they will just create a sprawling community that you built yourself on this untamed land.
With your own two hands.
Hands on!
And there it is! Wow.
So what we have done now is that we have laid down a plot, we have installed power, we have built a house from scratch, and we have sold the plot to a client who has actually moved in and is now a part of your game world. But that's just one part of this this Infinity Ouroboros thing that is the gameplay loop. You're also going to have to actually explore and research.
Absolutely. When we knew we were going to make a couple of interesting, sort of crazy, charming, our own style of alien planets, we knew we wanted the player to be engaged also in learning about them and learning from them. So that inspired us to, from the get-go, make sure we had a research system in the game. And we wanted to do something a little bit more hands-on, where you really get involved with the things you find on the planet. Should we look at an example, maybe?
Yes! Let's go research something!
Let's do some science. I think I saw, when we were out running here, placing our power lines, I happened to see that we ran past this weird-looking tree. So I thought maybe that would be an interesting avenue of research. So I'm going to use my handy scanner here to first gather some cursory information about what this might be. And not only do I get a codex page explaining what I am looking at, I can also see that I made some research progress, so I found out something, a new project I can look into. We use it a little bit like quests, and want to encourage the player to engage with these. When you get the chance, you will get some juicy bonuses from completing these research projects, in between making your clients happy, of course. Priority numero uno.
The client is always right.
So in this case, we can see We have some research about a tree agitator. This tree exudes potent energy. Its rare fruit may allow for further analysis. Oh, collect an electricity tree fruit. Can do. It falls to the ground. And we skipped the analysis part. That's great. Analysis is one step of the research process that we won't be showing off right now. It's a bit of a slower mode of research that's done in your base, but we want to stay here in the field. So we'll go right to the next step of our electricity tree research. Now we get into the experiments. They're the real juicy parts of the research, my favorite part to implement. So in this case, analysis of the fruit that we just collected suggests physical stimulation of the tree may release a less than lethal electrical charge. So obviously, we should try shoving the tree. So let's give it a... Perfect. Now there seems to be some effect from giving a sturdy wrench blow to the electrical tree. Of course, just hitting the tree once is not science. Hitting the tree 5 times. Now that's science. So let's go.
Oh, it really hurts!
And there we go. Science has been achieved. Now it really does seem like this is an electrical tree. We can finally conclude this to be the case. Which means we should be able to construct some form of tree agitator which draws the electrical charge from this tree automatically instead of doing it manually as we have been doing.
So here we have touched on some of the major pillars of the game experience and how hands-on plays a part of it. But what are some other elements of hands-on or some other mechanics that are inspired by this concept?
Besides the research system and the construction system, we've tried to work it in wherever we can, including collecting resources, obviously, but also in finding these world features that we used earlier to make our clients happy. Sometimes finding them is not enough. You have to make sure they're good enough for your clients, and that's a high standard.
In a way, the hands-on element also comes into play when we're talking about the combat in the game.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And whereas combat with the creatures, the lovely, beautiful, sometimes a little bit annoying creatures that walk around with you on these planets is light. You're not going to be encouraged to beat up those creatures that live peacefully on the planet, but there is, of course, the scary element of the space rot that has invaded the planet and makes it nearly impossible to run a space realtor business on these fixer-upper planets. But in that element, you will have to get hands-on with space rot to take the planet back. Yeah.
And these aspects are all subject to be part of their own videos in the future, if you guys want it. If there's anything you want to see more or are curious about us demoing like this or talking about, then hit us up on our social media channels. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, Grahn. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Tobias.
And until next time. Bye. Will this work even?
I don't know.